On this week's episode of The Dead Life, I have Margaret Jameson here to spice up the month of October with Halloween vibes. We'll be talking about Maggie's favorite potions and spells, how to use them, and how to manifest our intentions. You can find me on Instagram at Medium Allison. You can follow me on my Facebook fan page. You can binge on my YouTube videos, and you can see me live on October 15th in Chicago, Illinois, and on October 29th in Irvine, California. Come spend a Saturday afternoon with me bringing through loved ones who have messages for my audience. For ticket information, go to AllisonDubois.com. Margaret,
Hi.
Thank you for bringing your expertise to the show. It's so good to have you back.
Happy October, Allison. What a wonderful month.
Yes, I'm excited. I always get excited as soon as the holiday motif starts rolling out, the black cats, the pumpkins. I get excited. And with costumes, I don't actually get dressed up anymore, but I have so many good ideas for theme parties for other people.
Well, my grandson said to me, "What's your costume this year?" And then he says, "Oh, yeah, you're going to be yourself." A witch.
Actually, why doesn't he just dress like you? That'd be hilarious. walk around the neighborhood, little versions of Margaret walking around. I think that'd be great.
That would be so cute. Well, for witches, October is so exciting because the veil is getting thinner between the worlds. And it's so much easier for us to bring out our psychic gifts and to contact those on the other side. So,
conjure.
Yes, this is a wonderful time of year for us.
Yeah, I'm excited. I like this time of year just because it has such, I deal with the dead. So
yes.
I get excited because it's all things cemetery and spiritual. And with the sun, when it goes into Scorpio, that tends to really thin that veil, especially for Halloween. And it's funny, things that other people are afraid of, I'm not afraid of. And things they're probably not afraid of, I don't like.
I don't think you'd be afraid of very much, Allison.
You know, I'm not a big fan of spiders. I gotta be honest.
Okay.
That's one of those where that's a no-go, no-fly zone for me, especially the ones that jump. I'm like, oh my God, I'm the person that would burn my house down just to make sure I got that spider. So, what are some of the most requested spells from your clients? Love spells, money spells. I mean, it's going to start being money spells heavily here soon, but with the economy. But I mean, what do they typically come to you for?
I think love spells top the list, and protection spells. Protection spells are, I think, one of the ones that I get the most requests for.
That makes sense. I keep sending people to you for your protection oils because that makes me feel so much better after I do readings to be able to, once those readings build up, if baptisms and showers are no longer working, I go to your protection oil because I require some heavy duty anointment.
Well, it's funny this time of year in October, though, lately, I've been running a lot on my Instagram about spirit guides and contacting the other side because right now people are thinking about wanting to enhance their psychic gifts and they want to reach out to spirits on the other side and get guidance. So,
yes. And I find that true with people, especially at this time of year, for whatever reason, the fact that Halloween's coming up makes people okay with talking to the dead, but not the rest of the year. The rest of the year, don't think I'm crazy, but around Halloween, it's all the norm, all of a sudden.
This is our month, but everybody wants to turn it on now like that.
And they have. Actually, my daughter got in a rather heated argument with her roommate for putting up Halloween decorations in September.
Oh, well, no.
So that was an issue for her. She came home and it looked like Halloween threw up all over the apartment.
It's never too early. Never too early.
That's true. And I would say to people with Halloween in mind, don't play with a Ouija board, especially, teenagers. I could give you such a better idea. When it comes to they can play with pendulums, and maybe that's something you can speak to. But for me, all you need is a pad of paper and a box of pencils and a quiet room and the intention to connect with the other side and that desire to emotionally have that moment with them and have a visit. And that's really all it takes for me. See, I don't know what it's like to be somebody that can't talk to the dead, so I can only speak to what I know to do in order to strengthen it, and also to talk to the other side and ask. I asked my dad to turn up the dead's volume and to focus their energy better so that they come through more clearly. So my dad helps me from the other side. So you can actually ask a loved one to assist.
Well, I talk a lot to people about reaching out to their ancestors, because that is somebody who's just waiting to be asked to communicate with you. They're right there beside you.
Yes.
You speak to that all the time.
They love to be needed. That's important, here and there.
And I think they're seeing things we don't see because they're from a different perspective now.
Right. Well, and I think more people are open to communicating with the other side. The hang up that I see most people have, they get in their own way. It's not that the dead are hard to reach. The living are impossible. The living, they're stuck in their head instead of concentrating on the center of their chest where the dead speak to. There's like an echo chamber inside of us, and their soul resonates with our soul and communicates. And so I see people get stuck in their head where I just had this happen with a client. I gave her the name. I said, I gave the name Jim connected to her dad. And she was like, oh, well, and she kind of hemmed and hawed. She's like, well, that's my son's name. And then I was like, okay. And she said, and it's my dad's name. I said, he literally just gave you his name and we're having this conversation. Why are we having this conversation? I should be giving you more information. So some people sort of are a stumbling block in themselves, getting in the way of the other side coming through. And it's not that the dead aren't there. Sometimes we're the difficult one, and you have to clear your mind and stop running an agenda and stop trying to make it about what you want them to say and just hear them. So that's key. That's what I find. What say you?
I wanted to ask about automatic writing.
Yeah.
Can anybody learn to do that?
Yes, it's something that I innately just started doing. My hand just started moving when I started I went to my first psychic circle. This was years ago when I was young. And there were pencils around, and I just started scribbling on a pad of paper, and I started recognizing it helped me to work out the energy of the other side by making contact with the pencil to the paper, and that the dead was dictating the direction of the reading. And also I started writing names. I started writing down impressions that I was getting. And all of a sudden it seemed more organized. My energy in the reading and being able to connect with the dead, I was able to organize their energy as well as mine. And I found it so helpful. So if you do it, I've tried many methods. And for me, I've tried pens. Pens don't work. And I don't know, and maybe you can comment on this. Pencils, because they're of the earth, like the properties that grow in the earth, it grounds me more to use sharp pencils and go back and forth with those. A pen is a bit of a disconnect. I don't find them as grounding. So I always recommend pencils to people who want to automatic.
Well, thank you. I see how fast that moves for you. and people have asked me about it, and I'm like, I've never tried automatic writing, but I'm really interested in it.
If you're in a quiet room, and I'm sure you'll have your candles lit, I think you'd be amazed at how much more focused you feel in a reading when you automatic write. And some people say, oh, well, I don't need it. I don't need it either. It helps me to organize the energy, and I'm more effective. So if it makes you more effective, it's a good tool.
We've each got our own tools that work for us,
Right. And something inside of me gravitated to it. So that could, be for me or other people who gravitate towards automatic writing. If some people find it distracting and don't want to do it, don't do it, but give it a shot. I think you would do very well with automatic writing, personally, and definitely use the pencils. And I need a particular kind of paper. Joe buys me like hundreds of the same pad of paper because I read so many people. I go through so many pads of paper, and there's a certain thickness that I've learned to like that doesn't rip under my pencil lead. So I had to find just the right balance, if you will.
Thank you. I'm really, thank you for sharing that, because people have asked me about it as well. And I'm like, I've never done it. So, and do you, I know one of the things that helps me, especially in October, today I brought in freshly cut wormwood from the garden to welcome the spirits in.
Are there really worms in it, or is it just called wormwood?
Well, the medicinal property is it takes care of a little parasite.
Nice. Okay. Get rid of the bugs.
But for some reason, it also is very attractive to the spirits, and particularly the dead. And it's like mugwort. It fosters your psychic gifts. So I brought this in today. So I do little things like that. I burned my mugwort. I have my amethyst and my quartz out. So do you also find there are things, do you need any props like that, or?
Well, it's funny that you should say that, because now that I've met you, I was up in Pine Top and I found a little shop with sage spray, white sage. And so now I spray my white sage spray before I begin a reading.
Isn't that simple? It's so simple. Those sprays make such a difference.
My friend Tom, who you met, was having a bad day because he was in an opposition, like a severe opposition. And he came here for the podcast last week, and I doused him with white sage spray. And it's funny to actually watch somebody's demeanor change after you've made contact and inhaled the white sage. You do feel more calm and better. And so I highly recommend it. I could go through gallons of this stuff. Well,
it's so simple to make. There's a lot of different sprays that I make. I have a spray that helps people sleep well. I have one to raise energy. I have cleansing sprays. And they're so simple to make because they're basically what I do after the holidays when vodka goes on sale. I fill my cart with cheap vodka.
I'm listening.
As I roll up, people are looking at me, and I don't have to explain myself.
You're like, I've got a severe drinking problem, or I'm making white sage
whatever,
spray.
Right? And it's really so simple because it's just a proportion of the alcohol with a little bit of distilled water. And then I use a shortcut. I add essential oils. And then you're ready to roll.
Can you really just drop white sage in there? I mean,
you can. What you need to do, though, is you need to be very careful regarding the water, or you need to use it very quickly. There's a lot of people I've met who've just tried putting the sage mostly in water, and then it just rots. Because it's
okay. This is important information. This is good. I like this.
But the alcohol really is what makes the difference. And then herbs in oil. You can also infuse your herbs in oil, say your olive oil, your sunflower oil. Put your fresh herbs in, and in 4 to 6 weeks, strain them out. And then that oil also retains the energy and the scent of the herb that you put in it.
Okay, I just had an idea. So I'm seeing a whole line of Granny Magic cocktail mix. What do you think of that?
Well, it worked for the witches in the movie that I was watching, Practical Magic, Midnight Margaritas. So I think there's a precedent.
I love
Isn't there
that.
a precedent for that? Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. We should absolutely make cocktail mixers with white sage and that are infused with amethyst and such.
Mm.
That would be
Well, when
amazing.
you think about it, I mean, rosemary, juniper berries, we're ready to roll.
Yeah. You're talking gin. I hear you. I love that. So we're gonna talk about that again because we need. I want to make a drink. I want to make a drink I can put up for Halloween so people can make their cocktail at home. We'll make a special recipe. We can
We
do
sure
that.
can, and actually, there's some precedent. There are some recipes that we could work from. Mhm.
Yes. Okay. We're going to do that. That's going to be fun. Okay. I'm excited. Okay. I wanted to know an answer. I hope my listeners are on the same page as me in curiosity when it comes to the spells. Okay. What can cause a spell to go wrong?
I don't know what you mean exactly by wrong. By
Can you do it wrong? Can you say it wrong? Can you not really mean it so it's not going to manifest? If it's a love spell and you're just sort of a nut that really wants to sort of lick this guy's skin off, but he doesn't really like you, it may not work. I mean, you need some sort of a meeting of the minds, I would think, with love
Actually, you
spells.
do. And I get this all the time from people. Why does my spell not work? And actually, behind a spell, these are just tools like you and I have talked about. The magic's and the power's
Right.
really in us.
Lie
Everything
within,
else is an
sure.
assist. And if you
Okay.
haven't really gotten to the point where you can focus your energy and you're not clear in your intent, that spell isn't going to work for you and you'll be disappointed. What's the difference between wishful thinking and manifestation? Right? And
Right.
some people think it's
Yeah.
like wishful thinking where you shake a wand and a unicorn appears. And especially with a
Right.
love spell, you can't really change somebody else. And would you want to?
No.
So I think that with love spells in particular, it helps if, you're doing a spell to bring true love to you. And if somebody's interested in you, and let's say we're flirting back and forth, but we want to light a match, there are spells to do
Right.
that. And that makes some sense,
Okay.
right?
Well, and I would think that sometimes maybe the guy isn't or the girl aren't actually good people, and maybe the spell's saying, "Ew, no," and saving you from a bad relationship. I mean, things happen.
There's a line you can put in like it's a contract. Here's an escape clause. It says,
right.
or whatever serves my highest good, harm to none.
Highest and best
Yes.
good. Yes, yes. I do say that before readings. I say, please bring through the information and the highest and best good of
I
my
always
client.
say, please
That
give
is-
us information that's practical and actionable, because we want to make
Okay.
a move when we read tarot, or yours is a little different. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, I like where your Aries is going there, though. That is Aries. I want something with action, damn it,
Fix
action.
it. But I think sometimes people have an idea that if you say one word wrong in a spell, it can backfire on you and harm you in
Okay.
some way.
So it's not true.
No, I think if you were doing something very advanced in ceremonial magic and you were calling in demons and doing something different than Granny does, and what Granny
Right.
advises
Something
you.
with a coven?
Oh no, a coven's fine.
Covens are fine all the time.
Covens-
Okay. Okay.
Covens are
good.
fine. I have my little group of apprentices. There you go.
I love that. I just went ahead and gave birth to a mini
I think
coven.
you did. I think you're part of it.
I know, I love it.
And I think Sophia's in too. I mean,
yeah, no, she definitely is. We took Fallon and Sophia to Pine Top last weekend to look at florists for Fallon's wedding, because she wants to get married up in the mountains, because she's the herb grower and the gardener and the little white witch. So we see a psychic store and I'm like, what? Like immediately. So we go into the store. I got you a Christmas present there, by the way. I found the perfect thing for you. I had to get it. I showed Tom. He's like, she'll love it. Anyways, so we go in there and the girls break off immediately. And Sophia's touching every crystal, every rock. And Fallon's checking out all the tarot cards and they're playing with pendulums. And there's a guy that was trying to tell them how to read. And the funny thing was, they're like, go away, I already know. They're like slapping him away. But we all just had the best time and stocked up in that store. So it was just really cool to see them innately be what I am on the inside. They're just a different facet of what I am. But they have that
attraction,
voice.
you know. The crystals will attract you when you have that kind of energy. My youngest granny daughter, the one I call Yoda, my wise old soul, her mother said, "What? Another rose quartz?" And she just looked at her. She was like 5 at the time. They're all different. Their energy's different. I need this one. And and her mom looked at me and I was, yes, she can feel the difference.
Yes, that's correct. And Fallon did that with a pendulum. She went through them all and she said, this one spoke to me.
She found hers. That makes a big difference.
Yes. Yes. But the fact that they even knew that, you know, there's some things that I didn't necessarily tell them that they just know.
Isn't that wonderful?
And I love that. It's a moment of pride for those of us in the occult.
Well, and Halloween is such a great time to share that with your family. Because that's the topic. It's in the air. People are curious. They're asking questions. So I think it's a great time to share it with your family. Pick them up a pendulum. Take them to a metaphysical store. Let them have that experience.
They're fun. Yes, let them pick out a deck of tarot that speaks to them, because you only choose a deck that sort of calls to you, that feels like an extension of you. Thank you for Sophia's tarot cards, by the way. She absolutely loves them.
I love that they're a beginner set that actually lets you start reading from day one.
Yes, I do too. And so maybe you could, do you know the name of it offhand? Do you have it on your website?
I do. The Apprentice Tarot. And I'm recommending it for anyone who takes my Earth Magic class through Your Dead University.
Yes, absolutely. And they're so easy to follow. And Fallon is older than Sophia. So Fallon learned tarot because her godmother is a tarot reader.
Well, that's lucky.
Our family. Yes, I know. Medium has nothing on the actual family, I'm telling you. It's like, yes. We have Uncle Tom, the astrologer, and then they grew up with Jana that flips tarot and is a psychic. So Fallon knew how to read tarot, but Sophia was the baby, so she never learned. So you just gave her that and inspired her, and so thank you for that. See how we touch one another and teach the younger generations.
Her intuition was already at work with those cards. I turned around and she was already doing readings. So,
yes, I know. The best part is when somebody starts reading you and you're like, yeah, you're wrong. And you like flip the tables on them sometimes. I had that happen at the Renaissance Fair. Our daughter Aurora went, she's like, Mom, and she bugged me to give her $30 for a reading. And I knew this person wasn't the real deal. So she goes up for the reading and she comes back and she was like, she was terrible. And I said, what did you expect? And she said, I ended up reading her and I had to pay her. I said, well, there you go. Oh, okay. Here's a good one. What are some of the potions that my listeners could make to help them to break a curse or bad luck? Because people ask me about this from time to time, and I send them to you because I know you have some of those potions on your site.
I do. And, one of the best ways is actually to take a bath with cleansing herbs such as sage and rosemary. Salt. You have your Himalayan salt. You put a little bit of your Epsom salts in. Bay. There's just an assortment of herbs that you can add. And actually those cleansing baths really do a lot. And you,
yes, like a
and
baptism.
It's similar to what you and I do in the shower to cleanse the negative with the salt. But and I have a chant that I encourage people to do. that basically calls their power back to themselves, because nothing is stronger
Hmm.
than our power. Everybody has their
Absolutely.
own power. And when you stand in that, nothing else has a chance. So I encourage them to do that cleansing. And then what we
Mm-hmm.
do is I have a chant that I suggest they do where they call back their powers, and they light a black candle to absorb the negative energy. And then, of
Mm-hmm.
course, tourmaline and quartz is what I always recommend that you wear to protect yourself. I always have mine 24/7. Um, but those are
Mm-hmm.
some of the best ways after the fact. But when you know that you're going to be going into a situation where you need a little protection, and this is something I need to practice, is,
The
oh
holidays,
my goodness,
Thanksgiving, Christmas.
putting that,
Okay, go ahead.
learning to lift a shield, a bubble of light around yourself. I'm sure you're familiar with that as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Yes. Yes. But before people go visit their families for the holidays, listen up, listen to
I
Granny.
think it's a really important thing to take one of those cleansing showers. And then I add at the end, cut any
Yes.
energetic ties that no longer serve my highest good. You can also do that
Mm-hmm.
with a sage, smudge your own self, starting at the head and going down to the feet.
Smudge
Or spray, there you go. People always say to me, I love your cologne. It smells so clean and fresh. Mm.
You're like, it's Dior.
Oh, to
Just
granny
kidding.
safety. Um, but
I love it.
very much whatever you can do to protect yourself, and wearing the crystals, not just to protect, but also
Yes.
rose quartz can bring forth those loving energies. Crystals that strengthen communication, whatever you're looking to resolve. And here's a little trick. There are people in our family we can't avoid, but we just wish things were a little sweeter between us. You can take and make a sweetening
Mm-hmm.
jar. And you take a jar,
Oh.
and traditionally you use honey or some kind of syrup, and you
Uh-huh.
put that in the jar, maybe with some rose quartz, or um, clear quartz to kind of speed things up, with a note of the person that you want to sweeten that relationship with. And then after you seal the jar, you can
Oh.
put a pink candle on top to bring those loving vibes in, and you light the candle, and you can let the wax seal the jar. And put your loving
Wow.
intentions in there. It's kind of a slow working, so you're going to want to do it. Well, now wouldn't be a bad time to start it for Christmas or Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And every
Yeah.
once in a while, you give it a little shake, and you send some positive energy that
Yeah.
way. And it sweetens the
Oh.
relationship. It's easier to sweeten a relationship than it is to protect yourself from the negative energy of one gone wrong. It's how energy
That's true.
flows and how energy works. So, as much as you can to
Mm-hmm.
bring in the loving, positive energy, and even as far as your home, protecting yourself in October, like you talk about burning the sweet grass after the sage to bring in the positive energy.
Yes.
Anything you can do in your home to raise positive energy. I just talked to somebody last night. I put out bowls of pink Himalayan salt with rose petals, lavender, amethyst quartz,
That's
rose
nice.
quartz, and I set them where they're needed. And it just raises.
Can you crush that up and make a bath powder? Because
You
that sounds
can,
pretty nice.
you can. I love to put the lavender and the rose petals and the Himalayan salt in my baths.
Yeah. Okay. So you can make little pouches of it, like pixie dust, and sprinkle it on nasty relatives at Thanksgiving. I love it. But your intention's key.
Gift them a spray that you make for loving positive energy with rose and lavender. There's that base, and you can just add anything you want to that spray. And, that kind of thing is very in now. You can also gift them a diffuser and make them an oil. that's uplifting and
I'm seeing a whole
cleansing.
line of granny products. Oh my God,
If you were
this
in
is
my
great. You could
if
have a
you were in
children's
my
line.
house, Dan was looking for something and he grabbed one and I said, "See the label? That says deodorant. Put it back. I'm looking for the cleansing spray." So I'm
That's
going to
so
have to start
funny.
getting different color bottles so that my family can tell the difference between the sprays.
Yeah, you don't want them to cross the wrong ones. It's like crossing beams and Ghostbusters. You never know. That
Some
could be
of them
dangerous.
are a little strong. The cleansing sprays have to be a little strong, but you can feel them.
Yeah, I've used. You can feel it with your cleansing oil. I can feel a difference as soon as I use
And
it.
I infuse them with
It's felt.
energy, you know. And it used to be I'd do one or two at a time. Now I kind of take a little bowl over there and do it, but they all get blessed.
It's, sometimes when this is with readings or giving your intention towards something, do you think you're ever going to run out of energy? Because some days, don't you just feel tired? I feel
Me
tired
too.
some days, and I don't know where I'm going to get more energy.
I just did the other day. I had an evening reading, and I knew I wasn't up to it, and so I rescheduled.
Yeah.
I had one of those days
Yeah.
where I read tarot, and people asked questions they already knew the answers to, and when the cards confirmed it, there were a lot of tears. So,
yes, and that's frustrating. It's frustrating on our end, and it's frustrating for the people we're reading because they know when they're asking it, they already know the answer. We're just validating what they already know to be true. I had a reading last week that was a 14-year-old girl who committed suicide by hanging, and the hangings have become more frequent over the last several years, and especially for young people, and it just gutted me. Like, I had such difficult readings all last week. I was constantly showering. And for people who are intuitives out there that are absorbing energy or that are sensitives that absorb the energy, don't go to bed with that energy on you. You bring it to bed. You bring it into your sleep. You bring it to your partner. So down the drain, away from me, down the drain, away from me, down the drain, away from me. Baptize in the shower. Visualize it going down the pipes away from you before you ever climb into bed. I'm telling you, it'll change your life. It's just, it gives you a coping mechanism as well as an energy release.
I think that's so true and so important.
Yeah, I think so too. So all of these are amazing suggestions. Where do they find the ingredients for potions? Are they like in Walgreens, or do we have to go to a special potion boutique? Like, where can we find the ingredients? Do you have the
most
ingredients?
of the ingredients. I need to list them.
Okay, so we can go to you.
I don't have them all listed, but I will try to do that. So I get a lot of requests when people let me know what they need.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of putting some kits together because people need a really
Christmas.
good source.
Yes.
Because a lot of people use something called fragrance oil, and that is not an essential oil. Those are chemicals that trigger in us that scent response, but it doesn't have the power of the essential oil. So everything I make has all essential oils in it or organic oils. And so I think that's one of the things that makes them so powerful. They're real and, they're not diluted down. But if you really need it, a lot of health food stores have ingredients like 100% essential oils. There are very good metaphysical stores.
Whole Foods, I think, carries that sort of thing.
Whole Foods is a wonderful resource as well. And some Walmarts are starting to carry witch supplies.
Witches go to Walmart.
Tarot cards and Florida water, and I was like,
wow, okay. Wow. When Medium came out and I first started out and I was taking on all the skeptics and it was just one after another and I had to keep proving myself over and over and over again, I could only hope that a day like this would come where people actually got it and it's become sort of its own religion, if you will, of helping to ground people and guide them in a positive direction. So it's all good. And I'm just so excited that children growing up now are going to have some of these methods. And it's like, they don't always need to be drugged.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes they're just high strung, or, give them, put them in a sport because they have a lot of energy. And these sorts of oils can calm them and help them to sleep. They can help bring focus and clarity. And peppermint oil, I know, helps with headaches, smelling peppermint oil. So, I mean, and it works. So there's different ways to treat ourselves that are very natural and effective without.
Well, it's interesting. I've been teaching a lot of people breathing techniques recently. There's a lot of people with a lot of anxiety lately. And they
a lot of
and they
anxiety
have what's called,
there.
I guess, anxiety attacks or panic attacks. My daughter's had them. And she's the one who introduced me to the breathing techniques. Everyone else I know that haven't got on medication, but being my daughter, she said, all right, what can I do?
Yes.
And they sent her to a counselor who gave her a list of techniques. And so she's learned to monitor her own body. And the breathing techniques have been a godsend for a lot of my clients. And the aromatherapy, like you're saying, the different kinds of essential oils and herbs.
They should really teach all children meditation and, inhale willingness, exhale willfulness. You breathe in hard, you breathe out hard. Just do that until you feel centered again. There's easy ways to center yourself in stressful
And you don't need to be in the middle of a forest.
So,
we can't always be in the middle of a forest, which is where I feel the most grounded and in touch. I live in town now, so I've had to use some of these techniques too.
See, I work too many murders. Forest to me remind me of
I don't know how you do what you do.
Crime scenes.
I don't know.
I'm doing the best I can. Actually, after 20 years, my friends started retiring from the DA's office, and I looked around, and all my girlfriends who were cops and DAs retired because they're allowed to. And I thought, well, why do I do this constantly? Because it was the murders that were really taking a toll on me. And I finally just pushed it away and just stepped away and said a prayer that somebody else is sent to step into my shoes, because I did it for 20 years and I have too many visuals in my head from crime scenes and the anniversary of certain children's deaths, that like January 2nd, I always know Mikhail Biggs was abducted and murdered. So there's just certain days that stay in your head. So I stepped away from it for my own well-being. And I think people out there don't know how to push things away when life gets rough and say, I'm going to focus on my own centered nature and feeling good again, because we can't be any good to anyone else unless we can feel good to ourselves.
I did a reading last night for a mother who is really concerned about her son, who's suffering from a lot of depression and a lot of disappointment. And it was interesting because she kept coming through in the reading. And so I started talking to her, and I found out the burdens she was carrying in her life and everything that was on her plate. And I could see how this energy was affecting the family around her as well. And that she just needed, it wasn't selfish. Actually, it was a gift for her to pause and say, all right, what's some self-care that will help me move forward in a positive way? Giving herself that gift is really a gift to the people around you sometimes.
Well, and as Tom McMullen says, when he looks into charts, he can see karmic cycles within families that goes from generation to generation. And by doing what you just suggested, they break their karma and achieve their dharma, which is the ultimate goal in life, is to break the cycle of abuse or of picking men that don't treat you right, or being a woman's doormat, or working too hard and never finding love, and then you die and you wished you'd found love because the work didn't matter in the end. There's just so many different cycles that one can exist in, and I'm aware of mine, and I did achieve my dharma. I'm very proud. But there are energy cycles.
And readings with Tom really exposed that. He gave me so much to think about when I met him, that I'm still trying to work through what it all means.
You two were like peas and carrots. That was just adorable. I
love
loved
him.
it.
He's
so
so
I can't
accurate
wait
too. You just feel it.
He is. He's great. And I love that we're bringing all of the sort of forces together, the best of the best in each field, to Dead University to teach younger and other people and younger generations what we've learned to save them the trouble and give them a shortcut to where we are so that they can spend more time helping other people, which is important. And I'm excited about that. So welcome to Dead University. So Margaret, where can my listeners find you? Because you know they're going to want some good spells and potions, girl.
My shop is grannymagic.com, and magic with a K because there's no tricks here.
Magick.
Yes, thank you. So grannymagic.com. And
Yes.
then I'm on Instagram and Facebook, Granny Magic, Margaret Jameson.
That's great. Well, you know, I'm going to have you back on again this month because the whole month I'm just having you and Tom on because it's all of my best of the best in the occult in the realm that I exist in.
About Samhain.
And I love that.
The witch's Halloween.
I'm excited and we can do that. So we'll have to talk about that and we're going to make a drink.
Oh, yes. That sounds fabulous.
For Halloween. Yes. So we can drink it with all of the listeners and know that on Halloween we all have that same.
I love it. I love it.
I'm excited.
All right.
Well, thanks again. And if you have a question about the other side that you'd like me to answer, questions about your own abilities, or you've had a spooky encounter with a spirit, call me at 802-DEAD-811. That's 802-332-3811. On next week's episode of The Dead Life, keeping with the vibe of Halloween, I'll be having astrologer Tom McMullen as my guest. So thank you to Margaret Jameson, who can be found at grannymagic.com. And thank you for tuning in. I'm Allison Dubois. This is The Dead Life. To all of my believers out there, don't stop believing.